Huge warning. The IRS is coming for your cryptocurrency. We thought it was a fraud, right? But now they want a piece of your cryptocurrency. And I truly believe the Ripple and XRP will be the global standard for cryptocurrency. In today's video, we're going to break down how the IRS is creating rules, and they're going to extend the rules a little bit later for custodians. But the Ripple case, I think there's a reason why it's lasted this long. Because if you understand that the dollar is the most dominant currency in the world, and at the back end of this video, we're going to watch a very important video of Ral Paul. I'm going to play a brief clip of it, and I highly recommend you go watch it. Because if you understand that the dollar is just debt, the whole system is based on debt. Okay. And we have to understand what the dollar is. That's why BlackRock calls Bitcoin a flight to quality. So we're going to break that down in today's video. If you can do me a big favor, if you can hit that notification button and subscribe and like this video, so this video can get out to more people. This type of content doesn't reach the masses. So if you can click that subscribe button and notification, it'll help me a lot to get this to more people. Let's dive right into this. So there's been a lot of things going on. We know we've all been holding on like a tick on a dog since the Ripple case on December 20th, 2020. Now, this is just my thesis, but I believe the Ripple case was initiated to slow down this global disruptor, which is XRP, right? Because the American monetary system is a debt-based system and controls the whole ecosystem. Now, when I say the dollar is weakening since 1913, it's deflated by 97 to 99%. It affects all other countries. We are slowly transitioning into a new monetary system. But we're going to watch a video on the back end around the dollar milkshake theory, which is going to explain to you how important the US dollar is. And it might give you a hint on why BlackRock and big asset managers are feverishly trying to get into Bitcoin because of the fixed supply. 80% of the supply hasn't moved. It's a risk on, risk off asset. So as we go into this debt-based monetary society where there's no money left, they can only print more money or monetize more debt. That's it. So we're in a really interesting position right now. So on June 28, 2024, it says Ripple's big court win nonetheless muddied the waters on whether XRP is a security deserving tougher regulation. In a near vacuum of legal regulatory clarity for crypto, district judges' opinions on whether a given token is a security or not, which determines the level of regulation, can vary from court to court. So we're bouncing from court to court. One says it's a security, one says it's not. But Matt, Meta Lawman, puts out some good stuff here, so I highly recommend you follow him. It says, big decision in the SEC versus Binance. Judge Jackson relies heavily on the reasoning of Judge Torres for the Ripple case and dismisses the SEC claim based on secondary market sales. The complaint does not include significant facts to support a plausible inference that any particular secondary sales satisfy the Howey test, an investment contract. The judge makes clear that she thinks of the SEC's approach. The SEC theory leaves the court, the industry, and future buyers and sellers with no clear differentiating principle between tokens in the marketplace that are securities and tokens in art. But the judge was not done with the SEC lawyers. At the hearing, one mentioned the SEC seemed to be speaking out of both sides of its mouth on the issue. At several points, it took pains to disavow any intention to argue that once the assets were sold as securities, they retained the character forever, while others, it left the distinction impression that it was exactly what it meant. So if you look at Hester Pierce, which she's on our side in the SEC, and I think she pushes back against Gary Gensler, like XRP, a cryptocurrency can start as a security and transition as it gains its utility to a non-security, right? So it's not relying on Ripple. XRP can operate independently from Ripple. So that makes it not a security. But in the beginning, it may have been a security, right? I think all cryptocurrency projects that start are securities and eventually can move into its own utility, right? So what I believe is happening, because this is just my opinion, because the American monetary system got caught with its trunks when the tide went out with its trunks down, as Warren Buffett says, is that they're scrambling to try to figure out how they can get involved in cryptocurrency before they lose control of the system. And this is what I mean by it. So the US Treasury issues crypto tax regime for 2025, delays rules for non-custodians. The IRS has now set up its reporting system for crypto brokers. but it set aside related rules for DeFi and unhosted wallets as it continues to study 44,000 comments in the agency. The U.S. Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service will require crypto brokers to file a 1099 form like their traditional investment firm cousins. But decentralized DeFi operations or non-hosted wallets providers will have to wait for their own rule later this year. The rule released Friday will go into effect for transactions starting in 2025 and will require brokers to keep tabs on cost basis for customers' tokens in 2026. The IRS won't call for reporting of most routine stablecoin sales and is putting 600 annual threshold on NFT proceeds before they need to be reported. So basically, the exchanges are going to have to report to the IRS a 1099. So they're going to know exactly what you're doing with your cryptocurrency. But I wanted to get to this video right here. So if you haven't followed Ral Paul's journey, man, I absolutely love his information. Now, he believes that crypto is the greatest macro trade in history, and so do I. I am heavily invested in cryptocurrency. I'm diversified outside of cryptocurrency as well. And when these markets boom, I pull my profits and I put it into tier one capital. But I want you to listen to this gentleman, Brent Johnson. I highly recommend, I think it's a dollar milk. Yeah, he wrote the book called Dollar Milkshake Theory. But I want you to hear it from him on how the dollar-based system works. And it kind of gives you a hint of why these big asset managers are moving into cryptocurrency, because the dollar dominates every single currency, right? I've been telling you guys, every single dollar in the system is someone else's debt. So if we can't monetize debt and people can't pay their interest on their debt, there's no money in the system. So that gives you a hint on why, as we go through this transition into a new monetary system, is why people are running to cryptocurrency, because there's a fixed supply. 80% of the supply has not moved. It can't be printed like the US dollar. So this is going to be a longer video. And then I recommend you go, this is called What's Happened to the US Dollar Dies when the US dollar dies by Brent Johnson. Go watch the whole video. We're going to watch about 5 minutes. So get your pen and paper out. This is a great clip, and go watch the full video after this video.
Right. So I would have expected an average vol to be probably double of what it actually ended up being. Now, we had that one period in 2020 where, vol went to whatever it was, through the roof. But by and large, the thesis has played out. And really what the thesis is, it's not a prediction of necessarily what's going to happen specifically. It's more a framework for how I think a sovereign debt and currency crisis would play out, and where markets will trend based on the way the system is designed. Not that I want it to be like this, not that I like it this way.
I want to hear your words of what this is, because
so he's talking about a sovereign debt crisis, because we could head into that. Everything is debt, guys. So if they can't monetize the debt, if they can't control the debt, we're going to go into a debt crisis. The average American needs to make about $150,000 a year to be middle class. And if you've seen the TikToks going around where people had a $50 grocery bill at Walmart and now it's $140, right? That's almost 3 times what we had to make in 2020, a 19% cumulative inflation. So people can't service their debt. People can't pay interest. There's no money in the system. And that may be why these big asset managers are moving into Bitcoin.
I also think that, and you and I have talked about this, that this is part of the everything code. It's all part of the same thing. We all kind of picked up that it is what it is. But why are these assets going up? And why is a broken system doing that? That's, I think, the thing that people don't really understand. And why is it affecting the US less?
So something that I probably forgot to mention a few minutes ago was along this journey, and I don't remember when this was, but again, it was another one of those light bulb moments. It was around the same time that I was in that conference room playing with those pieces of paper. And I realized, I was just looking at the US, is that at some point along the way, I discovered the Eurodollar market. And up until then, I probably knew it existed, but didn't really know what it was.
This is really important.
And the fascinating thing is, since then, I have talked to so many super successful, extremely wealthy, top of the industry people who still don't know what it is or that it even exists, right? And so what the Eurodollar market, it's the market for dollars outside the United States, right? And the market for dollars, the size of the market for dollars outside the United States dwarfs the size of the market for dollars inside the United States. And so what that essentially tells you is the dollar is the world's currency. This is the currency that, and this is not, this is the other key part of it. There's two more key parts of it. The US did not impose this on the rest of the world. This was agreed to at Bretton Woods. Now, I will say there probably from time to time, if countries ever really tried to start leaving the dollar system, if the market itself didn't stop them, I do think the US
go to war
militarily or economically would try to stop them, but they haven't made them do it up to this point. The world chose this coming out of World War II. Russia wanted to hold dollar balances in Europe.
Now that's interesting too, because we know Russia is de-dollarizing, right? They're starting to work with China. So that's a key factor here, but still everything is denominated in dollars, guys. And this is the Euro market that he's talking about. Everything is debt. We're the only ones that can print money. Remember with the El Salvador president, we print money to buy bonds. It's all fake money.
But they didn't want to hold it in US banks, kind of for the same reasons that we've seen recently, the US might take them. And so they started holding balances, in Europe. And then that led to other banks, doing transactions in dollars. And so long story short, since the 50s and 60s, banks, institutions, corporations have started using and borrowing and spending, using dollars outside the United States. And so it is now the global currency. The second part of this that's very important to understand is all of the dollar debt. When I first came across the Eurodollar market, and then I realized they had all this dollar debt, I was like, yeah, but it sucks because they owe it all to the United States. Then I figured out they don't owe it to the United States. The US didn't lend them all this money. They lent it to each other. So it is not, and the rest of the world cannot create dollars out of thin air other than by loaning new money into existence. So it's extending credit further. So it's basically a cashless / reserveless system. It is, so it must grow. There is
the function, and debt is the essential function of it. It doesn't operate without it.
There's no money in the system. We have to have debt. So sovereign debt crisis is now the American public is having trouble paying their debt. So other countries will start to default and it'll ripple effect. That's why I believe a new system is coming in.
Exactly. So it cannot contract. If it contracts, it can, but if it contracts, it crashes. If it contracts.
So what he's saying is they have to issue more debt. That's what they have to do.
Continually, it crashes. So it can contract for periods of time, but then it has to get recapitalized or new loans have to be created to get it expanding again. So again, I know this starts to get into the weeds a little bit, but we have a debt-based monetary system. There is dollars that actually exist in physical form, and then everything off of that is loaned into existence. And the best way for me to explain this, especially for people who understand Bitcoin or who understand gold, the reason that people like Bitcoin, the reason that people like gold is there's a finite amount of it. And then they know there's all of these, rehypothecations put on top of it. And when everybody starts to scramble for the actual gold or the Bitcoin, that squeezes Bitcoin and gold higher, right? Because there's a limited supply.
Okay. So I want you to go watch this video. The rest of the video is powerful. Okay. So basically to wrap up what he's saying, everything in the system is dead. Okay. So this is where my logical circuit kicks in. Why all of a sudden would BlackRock in 2017 say that it's used for money laundering? They're all saying it's, Warren Buffett said it's rat poisoning, but Warren Buffett invests in Nubank, who just connected to the Lightning Network, it's a cryptocurrency bank, right? Maybe he doesn't have access to it himself, but he's getting access through other modalities. You have BlackRock, who all of a sudden was like, we're getting involved. Bitcoin ETF, right? Then the banks get access to BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock and Vanguard are the largest holders of MicroStrategies, which is the largest Bitcoin holder. Ral Paul says that Bitcoin is one of the biggest macro cryptocurrency, is one of the biggest, most wealth building macro trades in the world, right? Because they know something is coming. Why do you think JP Morgan built Onyx, a blockchain system? Why do you think Bank of America's with Ripple? Why do you think Wells Fargo's with R3? They understand that the whole system is debt and the whole world relies on the American dollar. So if the American monetary system is in trouble right now, the banks are over collateralized, the bond yields inverted, the liquidity is being sucked out of the banks. All they can do is monetize more debt, turn the printing machine on and monetize more debt. That's it. Okay, so that continues to do. That's why the dollar has devalued from 1913, 97 to 99%. There's no value to the dollar. It's all a debt-based system. There's nothing backing it. So he talks about a sovereign debt crisis. Well, how could they fix this? Going back to an asset-backed currency in a digital currency type of way. And that could be why BRICS is trying to de-dollarize. That could be why BlackRock is moving into cryptocurrency. Okay, so that's why I'm so bullish on crypto. Now, it's a very extremely speculative asset. We're still in this speculation phase. So what I do is what I did from 2020, from 2022, is I pulled profits from the top, high risk, high return, and I pulled it down into tier one capital. I invested in businesses. I invested into insurance. I put my money into insurance. I put money into precious metals, and I'm using Bitcoin as my gold. So that's what I do. I pull from the top, and I'm waiting for the next bull run. I'm going to pull. I'm going to collateralize back. Collateralize, is that the right word? I'm going to go back into tier one capital, collateralize that capital to buy more assets, which will be real estate, right? So that's a simple strategy that I use. And so remember, cryptocurrency is very speculative. The great thing about that is you can make a large amount of money in a short amount of time, not get rich quick. I like to go horizontal with my strategy, right? I like to pull from high risk, high return, pull it into safety, things that I can borrow against, right? So very, very important. So if you are interested in learning how I do the horizontal strategy and retirement strategies, right, you can fill out a needs assessment down below, and my proper team member will reach out to you within 24 hours to share with you the strategies that we use. So I highly recommend you go watch that video. It's going to be a great 24 months, guys. I know it feels scary with the presidential election and all these things happening, but this is one of the greatest transformations in human history. And so key is financial literacy, understanding what money is. Next is financial discipline, going deep into your finances, creating budgets, looking at non-negotiables, getting rid of excess debt, creating cash flow, learning how to invest that cash flow. Then once you make money off that cash flow, then you learn how to grow that cash flow. And then number 5, you learn how to protect it with a trust and for generations to come. So I hope this information reaches you well. Hit that subscribe, like, and notification button so you get notified on all of our videos. I'll be going live every single Monday at 12 o'clock just to talk about the state of the market and some strategies and answer questions. So I'll see you at 12 o'clock today on Monday. Warriors! Let's get your shit together. Let's go. Love you guys.